Okay, welcome back to our Laravel course, and in this video tutorial we are going to introduce you to controllers. Okay, before we start, let's open our project folder. Alright, so this is our project folder, and I told you lastly that we are going to be working on command line. So each time you want to work on your Laravel project, you make sure that you open a terminal, and preferably you open this git bash here. I showed you in the previous video how you can obtain this, how you can download and install it. So you open it, and we are going to run our local server. Remember what that is? Yep. So it's PHP artisan serve. Okay, so this is going to open us it's going to spawn a local server and run our project on a specific port. So we're going to wait for it to serve us our application. Now in the meantime, let's go to our PHP storm. So remember I showed you last time how you write responses to the web browser. For example, when somebody comes to slash, it is going to return us the view. This view is defined in our resources folder. So this is our resources folder. You see welcome, so which means whenever somebody accesses the slash of your application or your web application, it's going to return him the welcome view. Okay, and we also created these three others: this about us, this contact us, these services. But I want to show you an alternative way you can use to return this, because now what we are using what we call a callback function. Okay, so the alternative way we use to return this, or to write some application logic in the back end, you can either use this callback function or you use a controller. Now, so in a controller, instead of defining all your application logic in this callback function, you're going to separate it from this file, from this web.php file, so that here will contain only your routes, and then the controllers will contain now your application folder. Okay, so this one is very good for visibility and understandability. Also, it's also good for following up your project, so you can easily chase out a problem. So when your web.php file is cluttered here with application, so it's always good to separate this your routes and your controllers. Okay, so how do we create a controller? We are going to go to our project. So our project is now running on localhost port 8000. Let's go back in our project, and we are going to open another terminal. So let's leave this one just to host our project, and this other terminal we are going to use it to interact with Laravel. Okay, so how do we create a controller? We create a controller using a command called make controller. So it's PHP. So just remember this PHP artisan, because you are going to use it a lot. PHP artisan make controller. Okay, so PHP artisan make controller. We are going to give it a name. So let's go back to our folders, to our project. You see, now I want a welcome controller that is going to handle our welcome welcome routes. Okay, so let's call it welcome. Okay, so PHP artisan make controller welcome controller, you click enter. So now when you do that, it's going to create a class, a PHP class in this our app HTTP controllers. So you see here you have our welcome controller here, so which is an empty PHP class. So this is where we are going to create our function, our methods. Sorry. You don't have to call it forcibly like this. You can give it any name, or we can just say function public function, let's say index. Okay, all right. So don't worry, this is just an introduction to controllers. I just want to show you how you can write alternatively to the callback function that we use in our routes in our web.php file. Okay, so remember, let's just go in our web.php file, copy what we return to, copy it, come to welcome, paste it here. Okay, all right. Now alternatively, I could have just created just a single controller to handle our index, to handle our abouts, to handle our services, and to handle our contacts. But I just want to create different controllers so that you can see. So a controller can have from 1 to as many methods as you want, many of these functions as you want. You can also have just a single function. So in this our own case, we'll be creating 1, 2, 3, 4 controllers. Okay, so let me go back to my terminal. Okay, so let me create another controller. I'll call this other one about controller. Always make sure you give capital letter. Okay, create another one, services controller. So create the last one. So what do we call the last one? Contacts. Okay, contacts controller. Okay, all right. So if we open now our controller, we see the other controllers we created are now here. Okay, so let me just copy this so that we will save us time. Come to about controller. So we are going to create our about methods. Okay, so about, come to contacts, we create our contact controller. Come to services, we create our services controller, services method, sorry. Alright, but remember, in our welcome, we're returning the welcome view. In our about, what we're returning? We're returning the about view. Come here, replace it with this one. And in our contacts, we're returning contacts view. Come here, replace it, and in our services, we're returning the services view. Okay, so come here, replace it. Now, if I go to our project, you see, you won't see any difference, no change. Why? Because we are still using these callback functions. Okay, so now if you want to use the controllers you just created earlier, you have to delete this callback function, and the way you call a controller is by opening an angle bracket. You give the name of the controller. So our own was welcome controller. Okay, you don't need to give all this namespace. So you just give welcome controller. Okay, then you put a 2-column class, then you put a comma. You give now the methods you wish to call in the welcome controller. So our method we created was what? Welcome. No, it was index. Okay, make sure you put it in quotes, either single or double quotes. So it's index. Okay, so you don't need to put any extension. So now this our ID is telling us that the class is undefined because we need to import it. So I'll just come here and click import, else it's not going to see this our controller. So for you to use the controller here, you need to import it first of all here. So now let's go back to this our index and refresh. You see, we see the same thing. Okay, but if I come here and I say it's not index, if I change the name, I go back and refresh, you see now it does not see these are indie methods because it does not exist in our welcome controller. Okay, so that is how you call the controller we have created and the methods. So let me just do that in all of these. So I have to come here, delete our callback, open angle bracket. So this one was about controller. Class, comma. So in our about controller, we created about methods. Okay, so that is what it's going to call to whenever we visit the slash about us. So I need to come here again, import our class. So I'm going to do that in this other one. Delete angle bracket, contacts. So create the contacts controller class. Okay, comma. So in our contacts, we have the contacts methods. So that is what it's going to call whenever we visit contact us. Come here again, import the class. Now, let's delete this. So, services. Okay, we have our services controller class. Okay, So in our services, we created a services method. I hope that is it. Let me just go back and check in our services controller. Okay, services. Okay, so come here, import. So what we are doing up here, we are doing what we call namespacing. We are going to see that in detail when we move further in this Laravel course. So for now, just follow these steps we are doing and make sure that they are running properly. So let's go back and test all of our routes, see that they are working correctly. This one is working /about us is working. This is our about page. Let's go to contact. Oh, okay, it was contact us. Okay, the last one is working. Let's go to our services. Good. So you can now see that this our web.php is now very clean. So we don't need to worry about tricking up this web.php with callback functions. So from now on, this is how we are going to be using. This is how we are going to be writing our codes. So this is going to be our standard way of writing code, except that we have a route or an action that does just something very simple. So we are just going to write it. We are going to write a callback function, but this is advisable. This is the recommended method of writing your Laravel application. Okay, so that is it for this video. It was an introduction, an overview of controllers. We are going to dive deep into routing and controllers further in the course. So until then, bye bye.